Ruba, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Zia. I'm thrilled to be here and join you today.
And as everybody who's seen this before knows, this discussion is around the Ecosystem Reimagined, and Ruba heads the Ecosystem and Alliance organization at AWS. Ruba, just to start off with kind of a big picture question. Obviously, we've known each other for a while at BCG. Then you had an amazing career at Cisco, transition to AWS in this critical role. How are things going? How is that journey been for you?
It's been amazing. So I really love the amazing work that we're doing at AWS. I joined AWS because of the tremendous belief I have in our partner ecosystem in supporting customers on their digital transformation, on their journey, and getting a chance to work with such a diverse group of partners and having key strategic ones like VMware makes this such a fulfilling role. So thanks again for the invitation. And there's so much more to come. I really think that we're still in day one of this digital transformation and the impact that the cloud can have on our customers. So excited to be part of the organization that's helping make that happen.
That's fantastic. And on the AWS role, Ruba, kind of leading the channels and alliances organization, AWS has such a rich history working with partners, and we'll talk about marketplaces in a little bit as well. What is the feedback that you've received of the partners working with you? What are some of the things that you've kind of instituted in the last few months to make it easier for them to engage with you? And what are some of the challenges you've kind of seen broadly managing that vast ecosystem?
So when I joined AWS, the first thing that I did was what everyone should do, which is listen to our key stakeholders. And for us, that is our partner community. In the first year, I met with over 1,000 partners and really started pattern matching the feedback that they were giving us, not just verbally to me, but also through our partner survey, also through other channels that we have with them, through our portal, Partner Central, that they engage with us on. And there really are a couple of things that they wanted us to focus on. But I would say, number one, we wanted to remind them that we believe that partners are a force multiplier for customer outcomes. And how do we get all of AWS and our partner ecosystem to deliver additional value? So 1 + 1 is far greater than 2 in terms of the value to customers. And we then anchored on an Amazon leadership principle. One of the leadership principles that is paramount to the partner organization is earn trust. And this is something that we operate internally and externally with our partners and with our customers. And the feedback that we heard from our partners as it relates to earn trust is, number one, they wanted us to simplify the AWS partner experience. They wanted it to be easier for them to navigate the AWS partner network and AWS in general. Number two is they wanted help differentiating themselves. So how can they differentiate themselves with key value propositions that they deliver to customers versus other partners that exist in our AWS partner network? And so we've invested in partner paths to not only make it easier for them to navigate AWS, but also give them opportunities to determine which programs, which competencies can help them differentiate themselves in the eyes of our customers. And then lastly, they wanted to make sure that we were mutually growing our business together. So working on co-selling and co-development with their profitability and their growth in mind, and anchoring that on that differentiation. Those three things are just three of many things I heard from partners, but they're certainly core to our priorities. And as we continue to hear feedback from our partners, we'll make adjustments, we will change, we will transform as well so that we can stay relevant and continue to grow our businesses together mutually.
That's fantastic. And I've spoken to many of your partners, and we have mutual partners as well, and they can certainly see the trajectory and the improvements there. One of the things that VMware and I've focused on is kind of this word ecosystem, right? Which to me is, it's not just about the one-to-one relationships, but it's this kind of architecting and actually thinking about which partners can connect with which partners in three-way relationships. And it's not just that one-to-one alliance, right? Kind of the traditional way of doing it. Any thoughts on as you think about three-way partnerships, as you think about a more organic or more deliberately architected ecosystem?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a network of over 100,000 partners, and we continue to double down on working with our partners. But it's not just an AWS and partner. I love how you're calling it kind of three-way. We call it the same thing, whether it's tri-party or in some cases multi-party,
Right.
Beyond three that go to our customers. Because ultimately our customers want us to work together. They want a solution. They want the end state. And so when partners come together, we can actually speed up customer time to value. And we have a lot of system integrator partners and other ISV partners that then extend that value when we show up together to customers. The second thing when thinking through what's necessary for us to succeed with partnerships, I mentioned the earned trust, but it's also nurturing the partner relationships. So making sure that we've got that two-way dialogue, open communication, having the difficult conversations, but being really clear about how we're each driving value, what our strategic priorities are, and working together on them. So we've invested heavily in strategic collaboration agreements where we're super clear about this is our strategy and our priorities. This is our partner's strategy and their priorities. How are we going to jointly go to market together in a focused manner to deliver value to customers? And then the last thing is making sure that we are enabling our field teams to engage early and often with our partners. So if it's co-selling, co-marketing, co-innovating, making sure that we are bringing those opportunities as early as possible, doing it in an automated fashion as well, not just individual relationships, especially when we're looking across over 100,000 partners. How do we do it in a more automated fashion? But really engaging early is important because to get the best solution and value to a customer, we've got to work together from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, by the way, I love the phrase earn trust because you see the word trust in many places, like, there's trust here and there, but earn trust kind of puts a little bit more of a burden on you in a sense, in a humble way that says, hey, we have to earn your trust, both from a partner perspective and a customer perspective. And that's also.
And it's not just one destination, Zia. We've got to do it on an ongoing basis. So every action that we take, every conversation we have, we've got to make sure we're continuing to earn that trust.
Ruba, from a partner perspective, you've talked about how we kind of try and bring in three-way partnerships or tri-party partnerships and the power of that. What are you hearing from customers of the value of this and some examples on how that's really benefiting them?
Well, first, let me just start with the strategic partnership between VMware and AWS. Now, our partnership between our organizations began in the year 2016. So now here we are 7 years later, and that partnership remains strong, and we continue to co-innovate for our customers. We have several large enterprise customers running VMware Cloud on AWS. Customers like Nippon Express, S&P Global, Aon Insurance. These are customers that have repeatedly shared how they love how this service helps them to rapidly migrate and modernize on AWS. And in fact, it's one of the fastest ways to get to AWS. One example I want to double click on is customer Aon, a global professional services firm focused on risk, retirement, and health. Now, they were able to leverage VMware Cloud on AWS to migrate 280 applications and over 2,000 workloads to the cloud in under 10 months, achieving cost savings, better lifecycle management. Now, our partners play such a key role in driving these customer outcomes. We talked about tri-party. So we've got the innovation from AWS and the innovation from VMware, but we've got partners like S, which is a mutual partner for both of us, that helped our customer, Banco Modal, a Brazil-based investment banking company, to optimize their processes and improve their customer experience on their investment platform. S helped the customer migrate approximately 200 virtual machines in less than 15 days, leveraging VMware Cloud on AWS. So value in just a couple of weeks. That's why these tri-party deals are really amazing, because they support our customers in getting the incredible technology in their hands as quickly as possible. So what we're seeing is that our partners and multiple partners are able to get value to our customers as quickly as possible.
Yeah, those are great examples, Ruba, and we have a healthy pipeline, as you know, together, and we continue to do fairly significant joint product innovation as well, so good things to come. Shifting a little bit, Ruba, to this whole topic of marketplaces. I mean, AWS kind of created this concept, certainly in a cloud marketplace context, but I think is being kind of extraordinarily successful at it. What has that meant to your business and your strategy, and kind of where is it today in its kind of role and in working with customers and working with partners as well?
So I'll first take a step back and talk about the overall market opportunity to appreciate the magnitude of this shift. So according to Forrester, about 17% of the $13 trillion global B2B spending will flow through e-commerce and marketplaces this year.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big number, but it's a shift of about $2 trillion away from traditional direct sales channels to these marketplaces. So now if we double click a bit on AWS, we have sellers who've sold billions of dollars of products and services on the AWS Marketplace to over 330,000 global customers who are leveraging the AWS Marketplace to procure their technology. So a few years ago, VMware adopted a strategy to expand the co-sell motion with AWS and with AWS Marketplace as a route to market. So in fact, so far this year, we've already surpassed 2022 performance. So in the first half of 2023, we've surpassed the growth from all of last year, all of 2022. And that's incredible. And customers tell us they're able to experience the value of these VMware solutions faster when procured through the AWS Marketplace. So this goes back to ultimately what our core value proposition is how do we get the solution, the value, the outcome in the hands of customers as quickly as possible. What we're seeing is partners can expand their reach more customers, they can close business faster, and they tend to have larger deal sizes when they're offering them on Marketplace to support accelerating time to value for our customers.
Yeah, and look, it's been, as you know, it's been a incredible route to market for VMware. I think we've dramatically increased the business we're doing through the marketplace, and we continue to add additional VMware products to it as well. So we're super excited about that piece of it, and thank you for the partnership there. Transitioning a little bit from all things cloud and ecosystem and so on, a little bit from a personal perspective, Ruba. Congratulations. I understand you got the ECE Rising Star Award from the University of Michigan. I also joined recently my alma mater, Macalester College board. And through those experiences, but also work, the importance of diversity, what I call diversity of thought. So there's obviously diversity, there's gender diversity, there's other types of religious diversity, ethnic diversity. But when you kind of pull it all together, those experiences, those different backgrounds lead to a diversity of thought. You want to bring that mix of people into a room to have that conversation. What has been your experience in kind of bringing together those disparate voices in your professional life to lead to kind of hopefully better decisions?
Well, first, Zia, congratulations on joining the board of Macalester, and it's really exciting to see your commitment to education. It's the foundation of my life personally and professionally, and I think it's the one thing that no one can take away from you. So the best investment that any individual can make. But in fact, I mean, I think learning is just an integral part of any professional's life. And at Amazon, it's also one of our leadership principles. It's learn and be curious. So as it relates to diversity of experience, diversity of thought, I really think about full spectrum diversity. So it isn't just gender, ethnicity, just like you said, it covers disability, it covers geography, tenure, other backgrounds. And our goal is to strive to build a culture where people can have the psychological safety to be themselves. They can focus on innovating, which is critical to our growth and success and to that of our customers and partners. And it all really starts with creating a welcome space or a welcoming space where bias is addressed and dialogue is encouraged.
Over the last 2-3 years, we've all been through quite an experience, right? You layer all of those things, Ruba. It's required all of us as leaders to exercise muscles that we didn't know had, or we had to kind of develop. What have you learned in these last kind of 2-3 years of leading and managing and inspiring people with all this stuff going on?
Yeah, I think, look, number one is starting with a high degree of empathy and deeply understanding your own teams. Yeah. There was a board member at my previous employer who used to say, where you stand on an issue depends on where you sit in an organization. And I think that just means that how someone takes something really just depends on where they're coming from. So it's important to be empathetic and understand where each individual is coming from. And by the way, this isn't just for our own builders that report to us, but also when working with customers, when working with our partners. But it's so important to be successful for leaders to take the time to understand their employees, the communities in which they live and work, what their key strengths are, what their areas of opportunities are, and be sure to have their back. So by understanding the larger context, indexing on support and on their strengths, we can be a lot more effective in driving those mutually beneficial outcomes. I'll give you one example of someone on my leadership team. This was a leader who had a passion for helping marginalized communities. And she kept telling me that she's looking forward to retiring in 10 or 15 years so that she can work with nonprofits to give opportunities to marginalized or disenfranchised communities. And we spoke and said, you know what, we actually have a need to do that with our AWS partners. So we created the AWS Partner Community Impact Team that she now runs. She works with our partners to help skill individuals from underserved communities and go all the way, not just reskilling or skilling, but actually to job placement to give them opportunities in the cloud economy. And so that's something where understanding someone's passion, understanding their strength has led to a new job and a new career that's beneficial for all of us, and really excited about the impact she's having and our teams are having on those communities that otherwise would have been underserved. So second is defining clear priorities. I think that there's a lot of noise. There's also, we're constantly getting, moving from meeting to meeting or getting a tremendous amount of emails or Slack messages. Being really clear about what are the things that matter to the business and communicating that on an ongoing basis is important. And then the last piece is just investing in innovation, but not just investing in it, recognize it and reward it. And this is all about employee choices and in creating an environment where innovation is encouraged and appreciated. And when there's transparency about what we're investing in the long term, it allows for more experimentation and a place where teams are empowered to take risks. We're committed to being unusually long-term focused. So we've got a large portion of our investments in long-term investments, and we're very clear about those.
One of the things I've kind of talked about internally here, that's activity doesn't matter, impact matters. So just because you're busy and like, hey, how was your week? Oh, it was really busy. I had a lot of meetings and okay, but what was the impact? And if you really hone in on the impact, there's no way you can have impact unless you know what you want to have impact on, which is your kind of focus and stuff. And it's still, a lot of people equate busy to having impact. If you can do it in 20 hours instead of 40 hours, all power to you, right? Maybe, Ruba, just to kind of end up on this, a couple of fun questions, if I could. If you were to start a company today, and it doesn't have to be tech, by the way, if you were to start a company today, what would you do?
Good question, Zia. Well, tech is all I've ever done, but I will say something that I've also done in parallel is pro bono work tied to education.
Right.
So probably, I don't know exactly what it would be, but probably something that's leveraging generative AI and machine learning to help students become more relevant in this really rapidly changing world. I think that when I studied electrical engineering a long, long time ago, it's very different than where it is today and where technology is today. So it would probably have some component of generative AI and ML to help students accelerate their learning journey and continue to make sure that they're relevant, because it's moving really fast.
That's awesome. That's obviously a great combination of things there. Second question, is there a technology personally that doesn't exist that you'd love to have and use?
I say this every single time I am packing a suitcase, but teleportation, please.
Well, maybe we after Zoom and all of this stuff, the next time we have a conversation, it can be at least 2 avatars or something similar to that. But that would be a game changer for sure. And final question there, Ruba, if you were to pick one superpower, what would you pick?
There are lots out there, Zia. I will say I used to think that the superpower I'd love is, speaking any language at any time and understanding every language, but I think that our phones help us with that right now quite well, and a lot of the tools that we use help us with that. So maybe I'll go back to the technology I really want, which is instantaneous travel globally.
Yeah.
And it isn't just, an avatar or something like that. I really do love experiencing new cultures, new environments, new food, and being able to get there as quickly as possible without having to go through airports or the hassle of travel today would be amazing. A superpower, but, just a huge quality of life boost.
And without the jet lag, hopefully,
Exactly.
as well. Hey, look, fantastic set of answers, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Zia, and thank you for the strength of our partnership. We really appreciate the partnership with VMware.
Awesome. Thank you.